So yeah, my neighbor actually helped me this morning. Actually, he came yesterday and he flattened a lot of it out. Now, we don't have enough gravel, so I had to order more for Monday just to finish this one section. So that will be coming and we'll get that finished, but it looks pretty good. It looks so much nicer, doesn't it? So, the bathroom. I think you all know that I mentioned in the last video that I'm moving. I'm going back home. I will have a different shop when I go back. But I have to prepare this house to sell. And oh, this is from, I made a fancy coffee this morning with some whipped cream. And it was so good. Anyway, the house is mostly nice, you know. It's old, so there's always going to be things that aren't perfect. But still, there are some projects that I just never did when I did my renovation. One of those was the bathroom. Now, Colin did paint it, and he added a few decor pieces on the wall. I've done some things over the years. I painted the cabinet, I resined the sink, and I decoupaged around the edge of the sink. That was like a live video a couple of years ago. I think it's 2024. And I never did anything with the floor. And so I started, I did part of it in the video last week, and let me show you. So I started with painting the bathroom floor. At first, we did a coat of the primer, which was Insulex, it's called Sticks, just to make sure everything is nice and bonded. And then I did the prime coat, or the base coat, which is a brownish color, which is actually going to be the color of the grout. What I did was I just threw a few pieces of tape on here, just to try to figure out, you know, what kind of pattern am I going to do. So anyway, when you look in, if you have this door open, you'll see the pattern of the kitchen floor. And I'm not going to change out the vanity for the sink. It's just too much for me to do in preparation for selling the house. It's a big project. I have to do something with the ceiling. I believe it had leaked at one time. And this had leaked at one time. So the sink, I originally started doing it with a putty because I was going to do some kind of additional resin on it. But after I started with the putty, I said, you know, I think I'm not going to complete that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a cement finish because I think that will hold up a little bit better. I'm not sure. I'm not actually 100% sure until I start putting it down. There's a big chance, see how it goes over the front? I have to follow this angle as well, which is fine. But what I might end up doing is actually covering this edge with the cement and then beveling down into the decoupage. This won't change. This held up fantastically. It has a few stains on it, but it's nothing that will hurt your eyes. And the faucet, I wish I could change that, but I just don't dare to start unhooking water pipes by myself. And I dare to do a lot of things, but that's one thing I don't think I'm going to dare to do. The cement is gray. I might put a little bit of pigment in it. I do have different types of pigment, and I might play with that a little bit. The thing is, it's a pre-mixed cement. Let me show you. So it's Quikrete. So after I finish sanding it, I'll vacuum it up and I'll do that off camera. Yeah, so I have a very wet surface here, and I have to wait for it to get a little bit tacky. Not, it doesn't get tacky, it sets up, um, but it's too damp. And I put a tiny bit of a skim coat on the front because it has a little bit of resistance when you're placing it on top of the resin, which is fine on a horizontal surface, and it will dry fine, but yeah, I'm just waiting for it to dry more so that I can go over it with a little bit of sandpaper. Now, some people might opt to go over it with a little bit of a broom or a paintbrush to make lines in it. That would be more if you were using it outside, on the ground. So for here, I'm going to wait until it sets up a little bit. And then I will go over it with a little bit of a sandpaper sponge or, a sanding sponge. And then I will apply some to the front. Yeah, I got a little bit on the floor. I'm not really worried about it because I just have to this will just be taped. I'm glad I did the sink first. I thought about doing the floor first and covering the floor, but I'm just glad I did it this way. Just, it keeps the mess, from off the finished floor. So it looks kind of awful right now, but it will be better, when I can smooth out all these places. It's just a little bit too wet. So it's not quite dry yet, but what I'm going to do is I came in and I did a little bit of a swipe just to see what kind of surface I had. Now it still is kind of damp and it's going to need another skim coat over it, but for now, and I'm going to make a terrible mess on the floor, I'm just going to go over it just to give myself a solidly smooth surface. I'm going to try to push my extra material into the sink instead of on the floor. And so I am going to leave it rough because when I do a second skim coat on it, after that gets to a little bit more dry than what this is right now, I'm going to show you when the time comes, but we'll actually go over it with a damp sponge or whatever, because I'm going to try to get a smoother surface. It looks pretty good. This is where the soap impression is. I'm just going to let that dry because it's just sitting here. It's okay. In the morning, when it's nice and dry, I'll vacuum that up. And you're going to see that the surface is very rough looking. And that's okay because it's going to get another skim coat. And that skim coat will be able to give it a much better surface. So we'll fill in any divots, and don't forget we have the front to do as well. So I'll be tackling that. So all of these waves and things that will decrease with my second skim coat. So hopefully that will be clear to you at this point, and hopefully it's going to look better with the skim coat. It has a few spaces where the mortar didn't hold. So tomorrow we should get a much better surface. And like I say, I'll probably vacuum it up and do I'll get another fresh piece of sandpaper or foam paper or whatever we need, and I'll go over it again. And then we'll start doing the skim coat. And that should give us a pretty decent surface. And I'll clean up the floor. Again, I'm glad I didn't do the floor yet. I'm glad I started with the sink. I think it's going to be a good surface, though. I don't know if you can imagine it yet or not, but we're getting there. And yeah, so I'll take care of that and get back at it tomorrow. Okay, so I vacuumed it, and it's still a little, crusty. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just give it a light mist so that it has some moisture to bond to. And I mixed up some fresh cement. And this morning, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape off these edges so that I can get very neat on them. Okay. Not sure how this is going to go, but I'm going to remove the tape along the sides of the sink, and when I do it, I'm going to add a little bit of pressure. This is dry to the touch. It's not dry enough to sand, but it's dry to the touch. And I don't want to pull up any chunks when I remove the tape. And hopefully this isn't going to hurt my decoupage paper. I hope not. Leave that there. Move over to the other side. This is kind of crunchy, and so I am going to let it dry very well before I start putting any sandpaper on it. And I ordered a few more sanding sponges. Hopefully they'll get here by tomorrow. And just waiting for that to dry. So that's it. I also ordered a sealer for it, because after you sand it, you have to put some kind of, a concrete sealer on there so that when you run the water over it, it doesn't degrade the surface of the sink. And hopefully that's going to be delivered by tomorrow, and I'll be able to get my video out, no problem. So here we go. Let's wait and see. Okay, everything is sanded and clean and dry as well as I can get it. It says to apply to, I've never used this product before, apply to clean, dry surfaces. Actually, I may have used this many years ago when I did my bathroom floor. So believe it or not, after it was all sealed, I had to actually go over it again, and I had to sand it again, and then I had some spots, which I still do, but I mixed up some putty that I make for not photography, for painting and for crafts. It's that Crust, and I tinted it, and I went over the entire sink again. So then I had to wait for that to dry and come back this morning and sand it. So it's the next morning. I just sanded it off camera, and now I'm resealing it this morning. So I'll wait another 4 hours after that, and then I'll start putting some wax on. Yep, so now we wait for the second coat of sealer to dry. What a mess. Where's Father Bob? Father Bob's not here today? Previously disqualified, yeah, and Trevor Ransom brought that out in the initial questioning from today. He had been disqualified as an expert in something like at least 3 other cases, right? One in Pennsylvania, one in New Jersey, one in Florida. As well, I'm retired. I'm a licensed attorney. I will keep my license forever, but as of right now, I'm currently enjoying not practicing law and being here with you on YouTube. I'm having a lot more fun. Someone who has been certified as an expert, this Dr. Mack is an embarrassment. Okay, says, in your opinion, is this witness inexperienced or is records destroying him? I'm not sure which it is. I think he's been on the roster of being an expert witness for a long time. Let's see, he said that he says the state's theory PPP does not exist. Feels like it, right? He's changing like very something like the theory earlier. Nobody knows at this point. Rubia is here. She happens to be a medical malpractice lawyer. And she says, postpartum lack of sleep and hormone shift is a trigger for bipolar, which includes psychosis with sleep deprivation and SSRIs. Doesn't matter if it's 4 weeks, because the Commonwealth witnesses his own, turning Commonwealth witnesses into his own witnesses, which is something he's been doing throughout this trial, and I think it's fascinating to watch. Okay, so I'm letting the wax dry a little bit, but it almost feels dry to the touch, and I really soaked it in there. This is after the clear coat, and yeah, I mean, it looks like a cement sink, but it's kind of cool. And I touched it before I put the wax on. It has a completely wonderful feel to it. I don't think it can be appreciated in the photos, and I don't want to put my hands on it because the wax is still wet, but it's dense and it's luscious at the same time. It feels actually wonderful. And I will do this again. I'll probably do it a little differently. I'll probably prep, there I touched it and I didn't want to. I'll probably prep it a little differently. And one of the things that I really loved actually was whipping up the Paint Couture Crust material and tinting it. So if I was going to do this again from scratch, number one, I would prep it completely with some kind of spackle, not the spackle that I used because that kind of stayed soft, but even a putty that would adhere to other than wood. Maybe a glue putty or something like that, or not a silicone putty, but a drying, adhering putty, like a Bondo type of putty. I would put that surface first. I would do a course of the cement, the concrete over that, and then as a finish, I would do whatever kind of tinted Paint Couture or some other material. Other companies make that as well. I know Dixie Belle has a type of material that you can use, and there are a lot of companies that make that. I'm sure you can pick it up at Lowe's or Home Depot, and tinting it to your preferred color and then sealing over that. I really like the Paint Couture finish. I like the Paint Couture color. Now mine's a little blotchy because of the way that I did it. I did it like too thin over the cement. Although I don't think it looks bad. It's just I think it could be better. And I'm glad that I did it because I think I learned a lot from it. I would use several different types of material. I would use a putty. I would use the concrete, and that's the powder mix. And then I would use a tinted, or maybe you want it just white. Mine is just white naturally. It's like an off-white gray color. But I think you should tint it with something. I used paint, but you could use any kind of pigments. And you could make it brown, you could make it gray, blue, whatever color you want. Pink, pink cement, that would be kind of cool. Yeah, so yes, I'm definitely going to do it again. And I'm glad I did it this time. I think it's really kind of awesome. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's part of the moving series of me getting my house ready. And yeah, the bathroom is kind of a big project, so it's hard for me to concentrate on just one thing. I'm like everybody else. I see this huge picture, and it's just really hard for me to get down and focus and concentrate on one thing at a time. And yeah, but I have a better handle on it now, so I have to go away again, and when I come back, we will start the floor. So I hope you'll subscribe so that you get notifications when a new video comes out. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I wish you all good and beautiful things. Take care.